Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder here. It's your favorite podcast, Socialing the Distance. Today we have a real treat. Jennifer Maxwell, co-founder of PowerBar and founder of Jambar. Jennifer, great to see you.
Thanks, Larry. I'm happy to be here with you today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I said the last time I think I saw you was when you were running for Merritt College back in the early 90s when I was coaching over at Foothill and with Joe Mangan. But your you and your late husband, Brian, founded Power Bar, which really invented the sports nutrition bar
Mhm,
market.
mhm.
And you were always very good to me. You guys were our second advertiser at American Athletics. And I still get requests for the Lynn Jennings Power Bar poster. I have about 100 of them left of the 60,000 originals in my garage in Fort Atkinson. Uh,
Uh,
I send those out as people ask and things, but great to
yeah.
see you.
Thanks, Larry. Yeah. Yeah.
I
There's
wanted you to tell us a little bit about how you and Brian got started on Power Bar, because I'm fascinated with this whole category. Walking
Mhm.
through the running event about 2 weeks ago, I think I counted 22 different sports nutrition bar companies, and you guys are really you really got that whole thing going.
That's
Um,
right.
can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, be happy to. So, of course, there's a lot of history, right? So the Power Bar story goes all the way back to 1985.
Hmm.
I was a nutrition science and exercise physiology student at UC Berkeley. Brian was a coach at UC Berkeley, and we began the Power Bar journey really as a project to provide a fuel for Brian's running pursuits as well as my own. But Power
Hmm.
Bar was really a really innovative idea concept at the time because there really wasn't an energy bar, sport specific energy bar. So we created Power Bar in our kitchen and took about 3 years from 85, launched it in the beginning of 87, and began as a cycling and running food for athletes, and grew the company and sold it in 2000. But it was incredible because the whole concept of this sort of convenient, not indestructible food product was a very novel idea. And it was, low in fat, complex and simple carbs. Athletes would unwrap it, stick it at the top tube of their bike, and just take pieces off as they were riding, or they would stick it in their running shorts and sort of consume it as they were doing their marathon or ultra marathon or even shorter races and training. So it was really a very useful product back in the day.
How did you when you developed Jambar, the whole sports nutrition area, immediate use sports nutrition, bars, gels, drinks, had really evolved. Well, what were you trying to answer with Jambar?
So, as you know, Power Bar, we created the industry, and then there were many other bars and other sports nutrition products that came between 85, 87,
Hmm.
and 2000 when we sold. Then we got out of the industry, and then after 2000, it morphed into even more different types of channels for consumers, different nutritional concepts, different types of product attributes that might benefit athletes. And the idea for Jambar was really that I wanted something more natural. So I was really interested in the organic category.
Hmm.
I wanted something that was more so real food, less processed, organic, and tasted great. So that was really the impetus of Jambar because I got out of the industry in 2000 when we sold the company. And Brian unfortunately passed away in 2004. And in the interim, we also have 6 children together. So I was
Wow.
really raising my kids and was
Yeah.
out of the food industry, was out of I was still running.
Hmm.
I've been running pretty much all my life. I've been running for 47 years now, and I'm still running. But being in the food industry was not something that I had continued after we sold the company, but decided to get back in it. It was really a conversation with my daughter, Julia, about, with my food science degree and my athletic history, I think I can come up with something better than what's currently on the market.
Yeah.
So much in the same way that I developed Power Bar back in 85, 86, 87, in my kitchen, just me looking at, okay, what kind of ingredients are available now in the food industry? Because it's changed than it was back in the 80s. There's a lot more options that you can look at. And I wanted everything organic. I wanted everything real food, minimally processed, but similar in that it's providing that ratio of complex to simple carbs, providing 10 grams of protein, low to moderate fat, more real food, and that has to taste good. If it doesn't taste good, no one's going to want to eat it. So it took me about 3 years to develop Jambar.
How are you distributing it? Are you doing it in running stores? Or are you doing it in natural food stores?
Both, yeah. So the other thing that's different, not only do we have a lot more food ingredient alternatives and options, the market's totally changed, right? I mean, there are over 100 different energy bars, if not more, on the
Wow.
market, right? So it started with Power Bar, and now I've created this monster, this great monster that, you know, there are so many energy bars, and you know, there's a lot of different types of consumers. They're looking for different things. So it's, you got to distinguish yourself within the market.
How do you distinguish Jambar from your competitors?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is we are one of the very few organic options.
Mhm.
We're also a lot less processed than many of the other bars on the market. By that I mean primarily our sugars are less processed. It was important to
Okay.
me to not use what I call a converted sugar.
Okay.
So brown rice syrup, tapioca syrup is a converted sugar, which means you're taking a starch and you're enzymatically or chemically converting it into a sugar syrup. We use a maple syrup,
Okay.
which
Oh, wow.
inherently is in you know, from nature, has
Yeah.
some, you know, essential minerals in it, some vitamins and minerals in it. It's much more natural than a converted starch.
Yeah.
So that's our main sweetener. So it's very integral, more natural. I think tastes a lot better when you're using those types of less processed ingredients. Then in addition to that, we have 10 grams of protein. A lot of the other bars fall short on the protein. Different grains, we use oat bran, which was the key ingredient in Power Bar as well, which is great for your soluble fiber. And then we use a grain blend of sorghum, quinoa, and brown rice.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're using a lot of these gluten-free grains, so that the product really is a gluten-free grain-based product with natural sugars and a good amount of protein added to it. So you're going to get 4 grams of fiber, which is a good amount. So that's sort of what I call comprehensive nutrition, is
Yeah.
what Jambar is providing, rather than just simple sugars, too many sugars, or something that might be natural that's based on, let's say, dates, but
Yeah.
doesn't have the protein, doesn't have the great taste. It just tastes like dates. So I really wanted to create something that really was very comprehensive nutrition that athletes can use before training and racing, during training and racing, or taste so great that you can eat it for, you know, a treat at the end of the day. So yeah.
Uh, did you coach at all?
No, Brian coached, but I didn't coach at all. Coach
Yeah.
my kids. Yeah, does that count?
No, sure. If you were talking to a room full of young coaches right now and trying to talk to them about smart snacks for uh, their athletes between workouts, in between regular meals, would you recommend a product like Jambar? Does it have enough
Hmm.
carbohydrates and protein to be effective?
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely. So we do sell a lot of jam bars to high school programs, college programs, where you've got young kids and athletes that are, you know, running around between classes, need a
Sure.
quick pick me up. And the thing that's great about Jambar is that it's giving you the comprehensive nutrition. So it's giving you the fiber, the protein, the low to moderate fat, right? So the ease of digestion is also very important with this type
Mhm.
of product. It's giving you the whole food concept, and just that great product that's not giving you anything you don't need, right? There's not, you know, added oils, you know, there's no preservatives, you know, very less processed. The way that we recommend using Jambar is for athletes, either part of their overall diet, right? Sort of fills the gap with 10 grams of protein, and they want something sweet, but they want something less processed. So part of a whole food diet. Also is an easy to digest product before training and racing. So we use it that way, and for traveling, because it is basically indestructible. It doesn't melt and it doesn't crumble. An athlete can put a jam bar in their sport bag. They can come back a month, 2 months, 6 months, even a year later, and it's still perfectly good. So it's great for athletes on the go, for sure.
I want to talk to you about a little more general sports nutrition too. If you were talking to coaches during the day with their athletes, a lot of them push water, 8 to 12 glasses of water a day. Is that what is actually needed for an athlete to keep their system healthy?
To be hydrated.
Yeah,
I think water is important. Definitely water is important, not to the point of being uncomfortable in terms of the amount you're drinking. You should listen to your thirst, but it'll depend also on the weather. You know, when it's hotter, you definitely need to make sure you're hydrated. I think proper hydration is extremely important, but I don't think you want to overhydrate either. With Jambar, you know, you can eat it with water or without water. You know, it's not going to be a thirst, you know, because you don't have those syrupy sweeteners in there. You're not going to be as thirsty as you might with some other energy bars for sure.
when you came back to the sports nutrition market and you saw that there were 100 plus bars in the market, did it intimidate you?
No, excited me because I knew that I could make something better.
Yeah.
You know, part of the issue with what's out there now, Larry, is that a lot of the bars are just really over processed. You know, they're giving you an awful lot of sugar, processed sugars with not enough fiber, not enough protein, in some cases, a lot of chemicals, a lot
Yeah.
of sort of pseudo food ingredients are things that I don't really want to eat. I want real food. I want things that taste good. I want things closer to nature. So with so many entrants out there, I thought, well, you know, I can really differentiate because I'm going to provide consumers that are looking for a better option and, you know, an option with Jambar. And the thing that also differentiates us is that we have 4 flavors, soon to be 5, but each flavor is distinctively different, right? So we have 2 that are plant-based protein with a sunflower protein, absolutely delicious. We don't use a lower quality pea protein or soy protein. It's a sunflower seed protein. 10 grams. So that's 2 vegan options. That's our mango and our jazzleberry.
Okay.
A lot of real fruit, freeze-dried berries, very expensive and premium, and then big pieces of mango in the mango. So that's very different on the market. There's
I
nothing like
love the
that.
mango bar. I love the
Yeah, right. Those big
mango.
pieces of mango. It's just
Yeah,
fantastic.
and I've eaten this one a couple times too, and I shared this with my girlfriend and our granddaughter, and they both liked them. So
And the jazzleberry, yeah.
yeah,
Nothing on the market like that,
yeah,
right?
it's
And
fun.
then
Yeah, you've kept it. I think you've added fun to it. I think
mhm,
the kids will having coached high school, college, club, and having been a teenager, we pretty much eat what's put in front of us. Uh,
yeah.
and a lot of times, with as much as they're doing, we have this mortal furnace that, whatever you put into it, it gets some kind of energy. But I think the thinking is more now, if you put good stuff in, it's less junk for your body too, right?
Right. Right. It's
That's
less for your body to be questioning, like what are you giving me? For instance, if you look at sugar substitutes.
Mhm.
So I'm not a big fan of sugar substitutes. Now there's this whole thing about, well, you shouldn't eat any sugar, right? You got to go keto. You got to go zero sugar. Well, those are chemicals. And
Yeah,
I think the body knows you're trying to trick it, right? And it's gonna backfire. For
yeah,
some people it might work, but for most people, I don't think sugar substitutes are a good idea.
yeah.
I think that it interferes with your gut microbe. It interferes with what your brain is receiving when you put into something that's supposed to be a sugar and it's not. I think that affects your whole body chemistry in a potentially negative way. So I think it's better if you're going to eat sugar, remember to moderate, add protein, add fiber,
Mhm.
eat closer to nature, that kind of sugar, right? And then just, go with that. I think the overall result's going to be better for your body.
Why are complex carbohydrates better for us than simple carbohydrates?
It's
Are,
really
are,
just the effect on your insulin. You're going to
okay.
have a more regulated absorption of that sugar, right? It's the timing. You're going to have a more steady release of those individual glucose molecules when there are more of them. So complex chains put together. You're going to have a slower rate of sugar absorption into your bloodstream. And that's why you want to add the fiber, slow that absorption of the sugar down,
Okay.
make the insulin more efficient and effective in up absorbing the sugar compounds into your bloodstream. So fiber will do that, protein will do that, fat will do that. So when you're going to eat sugar, it's better to have more macronutrients in there other than just sugar.
Can you explain to us what the keto diet is about?
Okay, a little bit.
I see it in a lot of, can you just, it's, I'm like, I'll go into Whole Foods, right? And I'll grab a salad. So, I'm heading somewhere and I've seen like keto chicken salad. And then I went and I listened to something on NPR and they were talking about keto starting out as what were the basic things people ate thousands of years ago and trying to simplify things? Is that kind of what they're about, or is it a high
Well,
protein diet?
yeah, it is basically a low carbohydrate diet because you're
No, it
putting
is.
your
Okay.
body in a state of producing ketones, right?
Okay.
And ketones are metabolized differently than carbohydrates. So you're putting
Okay.
your body in a carbohydrate deprivation,
Okay.
basically, by limiting your carbohydrate intake. So you're going to eat then more protein and fat for your energy that you would need for your body to basically perform, whether that's every day or exercising. I don't recommend, most nutritionists don't recommend a ketogenic diet for an athlete
Okay. Okay.
because as an athlete, you're burning glucose.
Yeah.
It's not preferential for your body to burn protein and fat. No, it's not. Your part of training is to allow your body to be more efficient at burning protein and fat when you get to a point of running out of glycogen, right?
Mhm.
But your body wants to burn glycogen. It's much more efficient.
When your late husband Brian was racing, and I remember him doing so well at Boston and a few of the other marathons, he was a big proponent of carbohydrate loading, which was the thought
Mhm.
at the time. And I remember doing it a few times for my first marathons, eating a lot of carbohydrates and then shutting down no carbs for a few days. And you would feel like, ugh. And then you'd get your big plate of, bowl of pasta, the
Yeah.
last couple of days. And it seemed to work. With what we know now, is that kind of a diet work, or is it
The,
smarter to just do a smart carbohydrate diet, uh,
yeah.
complex
I mean,
carbohydrate diet?
what you're talking about is so the super saturation, right?
Yeah,
So you're
yeah,
maximizing your glucose saturation of your liver and your muscles, which ideally an athlete should be doing on a regular basis, right? Through training and resting and eating a proper diet.
right.
So I think it might depend individually. I'm not sure that I would recommend carbohydrate loading. I
Mhm.
certainly wouldn't recommend carbohydrate unloading via keto diet,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, no,
But
no,
for
no.
an athlete, no, athletes need to have ample carbohydrate storage, absolutely. And that's part of why people train is you have that depletion, restorage, and then your enzyme systems from efficient training are priming your body to be able to burn fat and to burn protein, minimally. You don't want to burn protein too much. You don't want to burn your own muscle tissue, right? But
Yeah.
you want to be able to prevent total depletion because then you might bonk, right? That's bonking, it's depletion of glycogen from your body. So if you can increase the amount of fatty acids you can use as fuel through training, that's a good thing. But that doesn't mean you're going to eat a bunch of fat, right? That means that you're going to train efficiently
Okay.
and your enzyme systems of your body will be primed to be able to burn the fuel that you can provide in your body.
So if an athlete is eating a moderate amount of using the food pyramid of fruits and vegetable servings and complex carbohydrates, um, using a bar like Jambar uh, for a snack before workout, after workout, makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, because if you look at the ratio of simple to complex carbs at 50 to 50, which is about right for
Mhm.
overall, 10 grams of protein, 20%, and then low to moderate fat. So the composition of the macronutrients of Jambar is basically what I recommend for your overall diet as well.
What do you feel about fructose corn syrup?
Hmm, I don't think it's used much in the industry anymore. It was back in the 80s, definitely
No?
it was. Um, uh, I think that again, it's a converted starch, which I
Okay.
began talking about not really thinking
Yeah.
those are very good. Right. So I wouldn't use it now,
I'm
but
a type 2 diabetic, and I did a thing one time because my mom was worried about me drinking sugar-free soda. So I checked my insulin and I had a diet sugar-free, I think it was a Coke product. I haven't had carbonated beverages, like 10 or soda in about 10 years now. And my normal blood sugar was about 110.
Uh,
It hit 300
oh
after
my.
8-ounce glass of that. And I called my doctor and I said, "What's up?" And he said that uh, whatever they were using in there, and I thought it was the fructose corn syrup kind of a thing,
Uh,
or something. It your body thinks it's sugar,
mhm,
and
mhm,
that's how your body reacts to it. And that's why you
mhm,
always hear these things about people eating diet foods and
mhm,
gaining weight. Um,
mhm.
what is so the body thinks that you're trying to starve it? Is that the issue? And tries to compensate? Is that the issue with diet foods or
Yeah, like I discussed, I don't think that sugar substitutes are good for weight loss. They've never been proven to promote weight loss.
yeah,
And I think that there's two issues that I mentioned. One is that, yeah, your brain thinks you're giving yourself sugar, and the tongue and the brain think, oh, I'm receiving sugar. Let's get the insulin ready to go,
sure,
right? Because that's what it thinks, and you're trying to trick it, and you don't give it sugar. So that's one issue. And then, of course, the gut microbe is another issue. You're putting chemicals in your gut, and that's interfering potentially. There's a lot of study around this, so I'm certainly not an expert in this one. I'm just looking
sure,
at what the logical
yeah.
methodology would be. Your gut microbe is very important to your overall health, and sugar substitutes and chemicals are really potentially very deleterious to that.
So if you're talking to a room full of moms and dads who are watching their kids after cross country or track meets, would you suggest they have a bottle of water and a Jambar with them to make sure the kids are grabbing something afterward?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want the kids to get into low sugar starvation, like they're famished,
Yeah,
right? You want to be able to rehydrate with the water, which is better than sugar drinks,
yeah.
and some nutrients, right? Some nutrients with some protein and the simple and complex carbs, the fiber, it's all there. It's all good.
What are your thoughts as a nutritionist about caffeine? We live
Mm.
in this world where there's a Starbucks every 4 blocks, except of course where I live in the middle of Wisconsin, but I do have little coffee places. But I typically get like an iced Americano or a black
Hmm.
coffee, and then as a treat, I may put a little milk in it. Um,
Yeah.
but so many of these drinks have, when you look at coffee and they say calories, like Americano's like 20 or something, but then you see the drinks with all the stuff on them, and they're
Yeah.
like 500.
It's a shake. It's a
Yeah.
milkshake.
It's like no longer coffee, right? So if we
Yeah.
get down to a basic coffee or tea with milk, are those things okay?
Before training or racing or before
Yeah,
athletics. I
yeah.
mean, the idea back in the day was that caffeine encourages lipolysis,
Okay,
which is the release of fatty acids, which
okay.
theoretically is going to help your athletic performance. Because again, I mentioned that you want your body to burn fat,
Sure.
right? And if you're creating lipolysis before training, you're putting a little bit of fatty acid in your blood. Well, that's helping your body burn those fats, right? Along
Yeah,
with the carbs that you're going to be burning when you're exercising. So there's that theory. The caffeine does that. I don't know if the idea has changed. I think that for some people that can work, but there's some people out there that are very sensitive to caffeine
sure.
and has an effect on their heart rate, effect on their upset stomach. So some people do want to avoid caffeine. So I think that's more of an individual choice.
Okay,
I think
okay.
you need to be careful. You don't want to, there are caffeine drinks out there and there's caffeine products out there.
Yeah, those
Some
things.
people like them and some people don't want to touch them.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen the Red Bull and some of
mhm.
the other sports drinks that just terrify me. And then you hear about kids getting sick from them or worse.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's and I think it's the use of the term sports nutrition. I really don't think those drinks are sports nutrition drinks, but they get put up in the
Right.
words like that, right?
Yeah,
And
that caffeine. I don't know. I have not had a lot of success with it. There's some people that might, but I wouldn't give a blanket recommendation, no.
Um, when you talk about Jambar, how do you differentiate it from other sports bars? Do you push the whole sports nutrition aspect? How how would you describe it if you're talking to a room full of young nutritionists, young coaches, and
Mhm.
encouraging them to consider using Jambar for their teams?
Definitely highlight the organic nature of it and the innovative ingredients. Like I mentioned, the gluten-free, grain-based product, low to moderate fat, good amount of protein, and more natural.
Mhm.
Less chemical, more natural is really where we highlight Jambar. And then I would focus on the different individual flavors, our two vegan options, our two whey-based protein options, and fantastic variety of flavors. What's interesting is sometimes when you have an athlete eating a lot of bars,
Mhm.
they get a little fatigued because they kind of start to taste the same,
Yeah,
one or two or three bars a day. They're like, oh my God. So with
yeah.
Jambar, because we have chocolate, malt nut, which is peanut butter, and then the jazzleberry and the mango, and then soon to be another one, there's a lot of variety, which is important for athletes to have that variety.
When you got back into the sports nutrition biz, um, was that intimidating? Was that hard to do, or did you just was it had it changed much since you left?
I think what's changed since I left is just the way business is run,
Hmm.
right? It's been, many, many years now, a couple of decades, 2, 3 decades. And sales used to be easier back in the day. And with the last couple of years, particularly, sales have been a different process, more challenging, more processes, more hoops to jump through, slower because communication is not as efficient as it used to be.
Yeah,
And sales are always better when it's person to person contact versus
sure.
um, internet and indirect like that. And so that's part from COVID and partly just from technology. It's been a learning process and more challenging. Yeah.
Do you go to sporting events like you used to do with Power Bar and
Mhm.
got samples and things like that?
Yeah, we actually at Jambar, a huge part of our focus of the company is philanthropy. And we actually donate 50% of our profits to organizations that promote music and active living. So in that active living component is events. So we donate product and go to literally 20 to 30, sometimes more events a month.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, huge emphasis on community, getting involved, promoting people getting out there, running races, walking events, bike races, hikes. I mentioned the musical component, Larry, because when
Yeah.
when Brian passed away in 2004, I became a musician,
Oh, wow.
right? The music just called to me,
Yeah.
and part of my recovery and figuring out how I was going to raise 6 kids on my own and
Yeah.
losing Brian was really, really a difficult time in my life. And I started studying music, became very passionate about music.
Cool.
And I play the drums and I'm in 2 bands and I've been playing now
Nice.
for 17 years. So I'm pretty
Wow.
experienced drummer at this point. And so music is really a big part of Jambar. And that's actually
That's
the
so
name why
cool.
we call it Jambar. To get your
Uh,
jam on is our slogan.
cool. I like that. Now, I played trumpet
Oh,
and
okay.
piano, and my girlfriend and granddaughter play piano. We got
Okay.
a little piano just about a year ago, and just
Then the importance of music
it's
makes such a
such a
difference.
big deal. Now, do you help with school programs and things
We
like
sure
that?
do. Yeah,
That's awesome.
all kinds of music education programs, performances from children to adults to music schools to concerts to all kinds of
Wow.
music venues. So
That's fantastic. Now that music changes life, I think lives like sports,
absolutely.
you know, it's
And
just
there's a lot of parallels between music and sports.
uh,
For sure. That dedication it takes to be an athlete and the dedication it takes to be a musician are very aligned. Yeah.
it seems like I've done interviews with musicians and athletes. Athletes want to be musicians, musicians want to be athletes. The
Uh-huh.
endings, and it's really fun to put them together, and we'll let them ask questions of each other. It's
Right.
um it's an you would think it's a different mindset with both, but it's not. There's so many interesting parallels, and
Right. Exactly.
and I always thought we were watching a movie last night, and it was one of the things I always thought that I did better at math when I was doing my music. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was learning how to read music,
Mm-hmm.
um, figuring out the timing,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I could understand my math courses better during that
Mm-hmm.
time. And I always thought that was an interesting parallel. Yeah, I thought that was really cool because I love that on your boxes that you say that you're making donations to
Mm-hmm.
art programs and to music. I just thought that was very, very cool. You
Thank
know,
you.
uh,
Yeah.
it's kind of are you based in Berkeley still? Are you in California?
Yeah,
Or
so we have another thing that distinguishes Jambar is that we make our own product. So we're not co-packed, right?
wow,
So we take control of our quality, which is exceptionally high. We have
wow.
our own manufacturing plant in San Rafael, which is in Marin
Oh,
County,
nice.
north of San
Yeah, yeah.
Francisco.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
So with my experience at Power Bar, because we built our own plant, I was able to make connections and buy the equipment
Oh,
before COVID, right, in 2019.
oh my God.
So I committed to making this production facility.
What was
So,
it like to try to do a new product during COVID? Were you even able to manufacture back then?
it was interesting the timing. So I'd finished the formulation in 2019,
Mhm.
committed to the equipment. And then as we ordered it, because most of it comes from Europe, I
Yeah,
was thinking, okay, is this going to happen? Like, what's because we didn't know, right? All through 2020, there was a lot of ambiguity. We didn't know how long this was going to last. Was it
yeah,
2 months or was it going to be, years and years? But because we were a manufacturing facility, we just kept business as usual, got our building, we had to renovate the entire space down to the studs. So built it out, got the equipment, came on time, installed the equipment through 2000 into 2021, and then we started producing
yeah.
Jambars in September of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's how has it been received in running stores?
fantastic, fantastic for all the reasons we discussed. I mean, this is just such
Yeah.
a higher quality, a much tastier, higher quality product for
Mhm.
for athletes and consumers that are looking for that in running stores. So we're in quite a few running stores across the country. And we've actually signed a couple high level athletes, high level runners. We've got Sage and Joe Klecker, which are Olympic
Oh, nice. Oh, they're
athletes.
great people. Joe, I know
Yeah.
Joe's parents real well, and
Do you know Barney Klecker? Yeah.
I remember Barney back from,
Yeah.
Brian's days and everything, because he had the American record for the 50K, and Janice made the
That's absolutely.
Olympic team in '92. I was there
Uh-huh.
writing about that in Houston.
Yeah.
So
I just spoke to Joe
yeah,
yesterday. Yeah. So they're
he's
on
a good
board.
guy.
Absolutely.
That's
They
really
are all time, all time. So we
yeah.
got the Kleckers and we got Neely Gracie, who just set the American record in the stroller mile on the track.
Yes, Neely's a lot of fun. She's a very fine marathoner. Her pop is was a bronze
Uh-huh.
medalist in '91, and Steve
That's right.
Spence. And
You
yeah,
know
no,
Steve
she's
too. Oh my goodness.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, Steve is a little younger than me, and so I competed in the '70s and then early '80s,
Uh-huh.
and so I remember a lot of them, and then I've written
Yeah.
about them all since
Yeah.
I started writing at Runner's World in '82,
Okay.
and doing it ever since. So yeah,
Yeah. So
Paris
those
is
are
my
some.
yeah. I'm looking forward to. Just got my notes on the Paris Olympics, the credentials for that. So this will be number
Okay.
10. So looking
Yeah.
forward to heading over for that. But it's just yeah, sports nutrition is such a huge part of athletes now. In our era, in the '70s, you pretty much
Hmm.
ate whatever. And
Right.
there was okay. I mean, I remember the story about Carlos Lopez the night before he won the or set the world record in Rotterdam. He had a 16-ounce steak and a big bottle of Portuguese wine.
Oh
That
God.
was his pre-marathon prep, and he ran 2:07, and
Whoa.
and people just went, "Wow, maybe we don't need to do carbohydrate diets." But it
Yeah.
just nutrition has changed so much. It's really interesting, and you see when I interview athletes, I can't think of one in the last 15, 20 years who doesn't talk about the changes in sports nutrition and how
Right,
it helped them, and you got to,
right.
I know everybody talks about the super shoes right now, which I think are a big part of
Mm,
the improvement, but I also think improved sports nutrition is a big deal, you know.
right,
And, I
right.
was just at a Ironman half marathon. My girlfriend's son, Scott, did his first Ironman half. And I was watching him snack during it, and it was fascinated the bars and the gel and the drinks and everything. And the triathletes really have got it down, as do bicyclists too,
Uh,
do the long endurance things too. So I can see, what you're doing with Jambar, in all those sports. So it's pretty cool.
nice,
So
nice.
but you have survived almost 40 minutes with me, Jennifer. So,
It
you
seems like it's been 5.
know. Okay, so I'm going to give you a last couple questions. If you were talking to a group of budding entrepreneurs who are looking in sports nutrition, what would you tell them was the hardest thing about launching a sports nutrition product?
I think the hardest thing, well, there's several things come to mind, but I would say differentiating yourself in the marketplace, right? There's a lot, it's a crowded marketplace, right? So you can't just think, oh, I've got the best product because everyone says they have the best product. Make sure that you offer consumers something they're going to want,
Okay.
right? And with Jambar, we do that. We do that with a more natural, organic, tasty product. And the fact that we donate 50% of our profits to organizations that promote music and active living. So we're very community focused. So we're providing consumers what we think is a very desirable option for the type of company we are and the type of product that we are. So whatever actually industry you're in, whether it's sports
Yeah.
nutrition or anything else, be committed to what you are offering the marketplace. Believe in it yourself wholeheartedly and make sure that you understand your consumer.
What is the thing that you've enjoyed most about coming back into the sports nutrition business?
Working with people and learning,
Cool.
it's a different environment, like I mentioned, with more technology than back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So that's a learning process for me. But it
Mhm.
really comes down to people. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy, learning from everybody. Everybody has something to share, something that you didn't know. My employees, people in the industry, history, people have stories, and just working with people is really fulfilling for me.
Okay, well, we will reach out to you about the different flavors of Jambar and where people can go for more information before we post this all up. But I wanted to thank you again for your time, Jennifer. This has been a lot of fun. It's been great catching up with you and learning about
Thank you.
your product and also you and Brian's contributions to the sports nutrition biz. It's been
Thank
part of
you,
my
Larry.
life for 40 plus years. So this is
Yeah.
Larry here with RunBlogRun. This is Socialing the Distance. We wanted to thank Jennifer Maxwell, who is the co-founder of PowerBar and the founder of Jambar. And we'll have information with our interview on how to purchase Jambar, different flavors, and to find more information. So, Jennifer, thank you so much. You
Thanks.
survived the whole interview.
Thanks, Larry. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder here at Socialing the Distance. Today we spoke with Jennifer Maxwell. Many of you will remember Jennifer as the co-founder of PowerBar. Jennifer was a sports nutrition student at Cal Berkeley, and she was married to Brian Maxwell, a very fine runner. I think he was third in the Boston Marathon in 77. He was also the coach of at Cal Berkeley for the distances. He was also an Olympian, I believe, for Canada in what, 80 and 84? I'll have to go back and check. Um, but they invented the two of them invented the sports bar. Power Bar is ubiquitous with that entire area of the sports nutrition business, which now has over 100 different sports bar brands. Pretty amazing. So when in 2004, Brian died, Jennifer was left with 6 children to raise, and she stayed out of the nutrition business. They had sold Power Bar in 2000. She raised her children, stayed out of the nutrition business for a couple years, or actually for 20 years. And it was one of her daughters, Julia, I believe, who encouraged her to use her background in sports nutrition and see what she could come up with. And she came up with Jambar. And I'm not getting paid for this. This is just this is the first time I've actually talked to somebody in the sports nutrition area. I actually like the bar, and I'm a type 2 diabetic, and it doesn't push my blood sugar up. So it's more complex carbohydrates, which is the kind of stuff I'm looking for. So many of those things are frigging candy bars and just not healthy in any shape or size. That's not the case with Jambar and some of the other bars that we know in the business. But Jennifer's a lot of fun. She was a great interview. What I also like is they're taking 50% of their net profits and they're donating it to music programs. Jennifer's a drummer. That's part of what helped her get through the loss of Brian and raise the kids on her own. And they also donate to art activities and to active sport activities. They do about 20 or 30 events a month. They started back up in 2021. She does her own manufacturing. They got all the equipment from Europe. I think it's kind of a fun one to watch. And if you get a chance, give it a shot. They're distributed in all the natural food stores. They've got 2 vegan options now too, which I thought was really cool. And you know what? It's kind of fun supporting companies that are doing good things, and you got to respect that. So we learned a little bit about sports nutrition today. We learned a little bit about the vision thing in starting a new business after having such a huge success back in the 1980s and 90s. I started with Power Bar. Again, they were my second advertiser in American Athletics back in 1989. And I remember talking to Brian, and we came up with a team ad where we let people buy a case of Power Bars at a time. We threw a 1/3 in. I kept that going for years. And Brian would tell me when I'd see him, hey, man, we sell a lot of bars off that. But I was always very happy because they were keeping us going. And for those who wanted to know, it was Jan Johnson at Hind who bought the first ad with American Athletics back in 1989. And I was always grateful about that, you know? So, but Power Bar was there. And then when Power Bar was sold, we didn't hear anything from the new people, but it's great to talk to Jennifer at Jambar and learn a little bit more about sports nutrition. And I hope you gained benefit from it too. If you ever want to reach me, email me at runblogrun@gmail.com. Or you can always send me a message on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, now X, whatever Elon Musk wants to call it today. It's going to be called the Elon platform someday, I know. But thanks to Mike Deering, who produces all of our podcasts and manages them and makes sure that I look good and sound great. He's the one who got me to do the light behind my computer. And talk to you soon.